Welcome to the DGD podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds. Guys, it is SEC play. SEC play starting with those Gamecocks down in Columbia. So we're going to preview that matchup upcoming Saturday, 3:30 CBS slot, by the way, and more. All right, we're going to talk about some key position battles. I think Georgia has to take advantage of. Obviously, keys to victory. We're going to make game predictions, right? Player of the game predictions, and then the DGD picks of the week. So a lot to jump into, but first thing is first. Gots to go talk about my Alumni Hall. Where are you at? There you are. Guys, Alumni Hall is the best place to get your Georgia gear. I love them. I recommend them. Check them out. Follow them at Alumni Hall UGA on Twitter, Instagram. Scan the QR code if you're watching. If you're not, go to dgdpodcast.com. Click on the shop drop down. Go to Alumni Hall. Get you some stuff, man. And if you're in stores on game day, right, mention the show and get 10% off. It's that simple. Thanks, Alumni Hall. We are jumping into it hot and heavy, folks. I see we've got Let's Go Dawgs. Project Pat already calling 6033 special. All right. Player of the game, Mighty Mouse from the Waffle House. I like it. That's the first Pat fact of the night. Let's see. Walla Walla, welcome. First things first, I want to talk about this, right? 2 weeks, right? Georgia's 40-point victories each time. That's a good question. So obviously, before we jump into it, I guess Walla Walla's talking about how am I feeling about Bennett and the Rams. I think a lot of that for me personally is there's really not a lot out right now, so I'm just holding reservation on what it is. I don't want to. I'm not feeling it any type of way at this point, just because I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to hold off and just wait to see what's coming out. When it comes out, I'll go about it from there. But in the time being, I'm just going to kind of let it play out at this point. That's just how I am. Thank you for the comment, though. But so obviously we're looking at Georgia versus South Carolina, right? First week SEC play, first test, if you will, for Carson Beck. First test for Georgia at this point, really. Like I said, there's a lot of different things that I'm looking forward to, right? And I think, the if I'm looking into it the right way, I think everyone's going to look at Spencer Rattler versus Carson Beck, right? This is going to be the high level, right? But I don't want to be too high level. I think that's important. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I just think that there's other things and other headlines and storylines that deserve some attention, And one of those, I think, starts with our running back room um, and offensive line, both, right? Is this the week that the offensive line gets their stuff squared away and becomes the offensive line that we expect? If they can do that, then I think Georgia is going to prove a lot of people, as a lot of the national media, hey, they're not they're here still. They're here, and there's nothing changing. You know, um, that's just one thing for me. Running back room. Listen, I want to see Dejon. If Dejon's able to play, I want to see him able to play. I think you need him in this game. Um, I think receiving is going to be a key factor in this matchup this week, and we'll talk about that in just a second too. But yeah, I just want to see us. I just want to see us run the ball too. I want to see how we handle the ball. But at the same time, South Carolina's defense does pose a situation where you've got guys wanting to play more of a man defense, right? So if they're press man and they load the box, maybe the run game isn't there. So be careful, right? You definitely pay attention to what they're doing on defense. Listen, they may throw 6 or 7 in the box, right? 6, the math ain't mathing at that point. You're at a disadvantage. So find a way to use their right to what they're trying to do, right? If they're trying to allocate resources to the box, you burn them out wide, right? Get them in the passing game. So I think for what it's worth, the passing game is going to be key here this week. And it all starts with Carson Beck. Offensive line's done a good job so far protecting Carson Beck. I would like to assume that they do the same this week. I also think that when it comes down to right to it, um, Ernest Green, the left side of the line, I want to see them handle business. Right? Listen, I'm not like Ernest Green's only had 2 starts. Right? This will be his third. This will be his first test, just the same. So I would like to see him handle business. How he responds to that. Um, Keep Carson Beck upright, and you have a good shot at winning this game. But if you're giving up pass protection and Carson Beck is uncomfortable and you ain't careful, you force some turnovers, shit can go south, right? I mean, I'm not bringing up 19, but I kind of have to by default. Right? We saw what happens when you create turnovers, right? South Carolina's done that. Generally speaking, we've dominated this matchup, right? Since Kirby Smart, we've dominated this matchup. 2019, obviously, they handle business. But again, that was something that Georgia had to do better at, right? 3 turnovers, right? I think one was a pick 6. Same guy, same DB, right? Um, so I think Georgia has to, see. I think passing game is going to be key here Saturday. But if we're looking at South Carolina, what are they going to like? South Carolina has to be able to, I feel like, have the perfect game. They have questions in the run game just the same as Georgia, just different situations, but same question. Who's going to be their guy? And if they don't have their guy, how are they going to utilize that running back room? They've got Dak Joyner, which was kind of like a Dylan Bell for us, if you really say, converted to running back from wide receiver. So that's interesting as well. I mean, they've got some guys. It's just they don't have. I just don't think they have the situation right. Losing Marshawn Lloyd was a very big blow to them, and I just think ultimately, right, they have to rely on their receivers and their tight ends, but their tight ends haven't been doing much this season. Offensive line, right, we haven't even talked about the offensive line yet. Listen, they gave up 9 sacks to North Carolina. Now, against Furman last week, I don't think they gave up 1 sack at all. So they gave up none. So they've averaged not 4.5 sacks per game, right? Now, on the other hand, defensively, Georgia hasn't really generated a lot of sacks, right? So I'd like to see Georgia's defensive line get home. And I think if you can contain from the edge, keep Spencer Rattler in the pocket, and don't get upfield, right? Be disciplined on the edge rushing. I genuinely think you have a good shot to keep him and get home. And if you do that, there's your recipe for success defensively. They've got Xavier Legette. Good dude. He's a good receiver. I'm just going to leave it there. Good receiver. You got Trey Knox at tight end. You got Nick Harbor. Nick Harbor, the freshman phenom that they wanted. They grabbed up 5-star guy. So we'll see how they utilize those guys. Xavier Leggett. I think Juice Wells might not be playing Saturday, but that is another name that if he does in fact play, Georgia fans have to pay attention to that. And I'm sure Glenn Schumann and Fran Brown and that coaching staff have their eyes peeled. You have to be, because if both guys are healthy, Leggett and um, Juice Wells, that's a duo, folks. That's not a bad duo. Um, I like that combo myself because they're able to go get up 50 balls, things like that too. That matters, right? That matters. But let's turn the receiving core back around to Georgia, and Georgia. You're looking at a situation where Georgia's so deep this year at receiver, just absolutely deep. Um, I think that you're going to have to utilize that. Uh, would you like? I mean, obviously, we want to see Brock Bowers get involved and get right. Obviously, last week was kind of an anomaly game, if you will, for him, and it's just not your average Brock Bowers game. So you have to be able to, try to get Brock Bowers the ball. Right, Bobo is going to have to do that. But I think at the same time, if against North Carolina, right, you saw a lot of man coverage, press man coverage, and if that happens, if they're doing that to Carolina, that means that they're more than likely going to do it to Georgia as well. So prepare yourself for that, right? You have to look at it that way. Um, so we need to, right? Our receivers need to be able to break these one-on-one situations and schematically open it up. And I think we have our first caller in here. Hold on, guys. Oh my word! Is that who I think it is? I know that ain't who I think it is. Sir, how are you? God,
I'm good. Oh, 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 oh. I
I,
got a problem.
you got a problem. What is the problem?
I've also got some reverb. Snap. I think I might be having some connection problems. Hold on a second.
No worries. No worries. We are situated. I'm just ranting on and talking, normal thing.
Hold up. I got it. I got it. So I had you 5 seconds ago, and now I got you now.
Oh, look at that.
I'm
Back to
having
the
a
future. You see what I mean?
problem. If I could turn back time. Well, this ain't a Florida show.
Oh,
Leave
you're
it
right.
alone. Leave it
If
alone.
you
You know what?
if you
There
don't know
might be
now, you
some
know.
other teams we can group into that song now, talking about Alabama. Get you a time machine, go back with Doc Brown, talk about the 2010s, because that shit seems to be
Watching the tide roll away. Oh, sorry.
over. Look, man, I got a problem.
Okay.
And I need your help, and I need your listeners' help. I need everybody's help to answer this question for me.
All right, Brigade, be ready.
How can you be the number one team in the country, two time, two-time consecutive defending national champions, blowing teams out, and have so much doom and gloom about your team?
Well, do you want my overreaction or do you want my honest answer?
You know what? Let's do both.
Which one do you want first?
Let me get that overreaction.
Oh my God, Mike Bobo's play calling sucks. Jesus, fire Bobo. That's
Uh,
what I heard week one.
okay.
I'm gonna revert this back to the honest answer,
Uh huh.
and I think it stems from some injuries in some key positions, and honestly, the offensive line just got to do better left side. I think you look at Xavier Truss and Ernest Green. Obviously, I've mentioned this just a few minutes ago. Ernest Green, this is going to be his third start, so have a little bit of a leash there for him. However, with Xavier Truss, he's a veteran, and I need to see him perform better because there's a couple guys that I'm looking at that could easily play left guard and take that spot and run with it. And I'm looking at Dylan Fairchild, and I'm looking at Jared Wilson.
Okay. Okay, fine. But let me just say this. At the end of the day, against these trash teams, this non existent running game is still effective. We're not getting everything we want, but we're getting everything we need. And I would like to say it ain't the play calling, man. Why
No,
how why
it's
how
not.
come everybody else out there who's breaking in new players and new offensive coordinators, new quarterbacks, and a new year? Let's just say a new year. Forget all that other. Why how come everybody else gets a pass, but Georgia struggles in the first quarter, and all of a sudden we're gonna lose 4 games?
Because we're back to back.
Is it it? Is that it? Is it the microscope?
Think about it. I mean, like you see what happened to Alabama as soon as they started falling, like not really falling off, even like they just didn't look like Alabama, and people start blowing them up. You know what I mean? Even when obviously right now maybe not the best time to bring up Alabama, but what I mean by that is like because before think about this. So they had before the in between the 6 years of the lineage of quarterback play that they just came off of, right?
Hmm.
That time between that, right, when you had the Coker and you had the Sims and things like that,
Hmm.
right? Quarterback play wasn't the greatest. However, obviously it was a different era of football. You had a Derrick Henry, right? You see what I mean? You had transcendent running backs. Georgia doesn't have the transcendent running back right now, and because of that, tied into the new quarterback, I think there's some speculation and some hesitation. And honestly, until we're tested, I understand. However, comma, this is the week where you have to look at it as a true somewhat test. I'm sorry, it's definitely a step up in competition. This is Carson, obviously a home game, right? I think you have to take that into context, but it's an SEC team. It's not. First off, it's not Vanderbilt. If you want to go, oh, it's just an SEC team. It's not Vanderbilt, right? It's not Vanderbilt, and it's not a Power Five. It's not a FCS or a D1 or D2 school. So step up in competition. This is a true test, not only for Carson Beck, but for the offense. And honestly, I think the defense not necessarily too worried about. Right? I'm not necessarily worried about it. Just I think the edge play I want to see solidified, if you will. But from an offensive standpoint, listen, we had a vanilla play calling, and it was by design. Because why do you
Of
open your
course,
playbook up to
of
UT
course.
Martin?
I brought this up on our show. I brought it up to let all the most of the folks ragging on us at the time before they got their ass whooped in their own stadium to soft ass Texas. We're Bama fans, FSU fans, LSU fans. I'm like, well, I'm glad y'all tried so hard in your opening game against these lesser teams and showed us a little bit of your playbook. It was almost like you were trying to impress someone. It was
Well,
almost like you were trying to chase someone.
I'll tell you this though, when in that kind of matchup though, I think you have to do some things that you typically wouldn't against a FCS opponent or a lesser opponent. But I'm looking at it this. I do want to read some comments from the Brigade, Ducati. Um, Rudes brings up a good point here, talking about Lovett. So obviously, I was on my soapbox in regards to previewing the Gamecocks matchup this week, talking about wide receivers. And Rudes brings up a good point. He says Lovett has improved from game 1 to 2, and will need to get more involved once we get to the meat of the schedule. And I think that's 100% accurate. 100% accurate. Sacred Grove brings up a good comment on maybe how to game plan against South Carolina's defense, throw to set up the run in this game, right? I think again, they played, if you look at North Carolina, they played press man often, right? Single high, right? Cover one. So that means man coverage. If they're going to do that against Drake May, they're going to do it against Carson Beck. Just going to leave that there. So expect man coverage. And I think with that being said, you have to look at situations where Arian Smith could be a factor. Dominic
Okay,
Lovett can
I'm
be a
glad you
factor.
brought up that name because I want to see if you agree with me. Um, that first game against UT Martin, Arian Smith was just out there playing patty cake, grab ass, and trying to draw a flag instead of doing what he was born to do, which was burn and catch. I'm gonna need him to stop doing what he did in the first game and get back to what he's born to do. 3 plays I saw. Arian Smith's out there not getting physical, but just trying to throw a flag. Arian, if you're watching this, and I know you are, I'm gonna need you to do what you were born to do and not that.
Well, I'll tell you this though too, man. I think with Arian, what I like about it is, all right, we know he's fast, right? We know he's got world class speed.
We knowed
There's
it.
no question. Now
We knowed it.
now what I like about this is getting him to understand the route tree and run a better route tree, right? I don't want to see him just be a go guy, right? Because we know he could, right? And you honestly listen, this matchup against a cover, right, against a single high safety, if you got Brock Bowers occupying that safety, that post route, if Arians in the slot, could be a home run hitter, guys. Just gonna leave
Of
that there.
course.
Now the thing about it is this: what I ain't gonna say concerned about. It's just what I would like to see, right? Is perimeter blocking. If you're gonna be on the field, if you're gonna be on the field, you have to be able to block, and that means being physical. I want to see him get after it and be more physical. Not saying he can't do it. I just want to see it. I just want to see some area of improvement there. Listen, I know. Listen, I have a. I'll probably make his first prediction of the night. He's going to hit a deep post or a go route against. If they do that right there, man, there's no reason to put his ass right fill in the void where the safety went. Let Brock Bowers be a decoy underneath and just right over the top. Listen,
True.
Bama did this. Listen, the same thing with a burner in the slot torched Georgia because Bama did it for years when they had Devontae and all these other guys. Think about that.
No, 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 no. It ain't nothing to think about. You speaking facts. And I agree with you. And I think that shit will get worked in. Pardon my language. I'm sure this is a G-rated show. My bad. Um,
What the fuck do you mean? I'm just kidding.
okay. I hear what you're saying, but when you have a job to do, use the right tool. I know I don't want to see him, go out all the time, but that's what Arian Smith is for, man. This is a track guy. He's a track speed guy, and he can catch the ball. Why not try to take the top off the defense?
Well,
I get you're getting, I understand, and you're right. And there's situations for that. But that first game, I saw him getting tangled up and losing the tangle and then throwing his hands up. That's what I was getting at. Like, don't try to draw me a flag. Catch a ball instead.
hey, you know what though? For what it's worth, if you could try to catch it but still try to draw a flag, if that's the case, I mean, I get it, right? I'd
And
rather
yet
you
he
catch the
got
ball.
none. I'm just, if you get it, you get it. I'd rather him just catch the ball, man. He's, is he the fastest guy on the team?
I would say so, yeah.
I think he is.
I mean, dude, he ran a 10, what is it, like a 10.02
He's
at
superhuman.
verified 100 in track.
I hear what you mean, but if you got a burner, let him burn.
I
Um,
mean, we know the potential, Ducati. We know it, right? We saw it against Ohio State, things like that. However, teams are going to look at ways to try to neutralize that, whether it be over the safety help over the top or something, right? But at the same time, this is why I think having the weapons this season, right, in the receiving core and our tight ends, because listen, I know we had Bowers and Darnell last year. I'm just gonna let you know right now. I think it's more of a problem having Bowers and Delp because Delp is a true receiving tight end as well.
true.
That's been
True that.
able to.
True.
He's been able to. He's been able to develop the blocking. Right. Todd Hartley's got him there. Got him up to 240, 245 or somewhere on there, built his body to get ready for SEC blocking, things like that. But he has the traits to be able to go out and be a receiving tight end. And to me, when you have two guys that are weapons like that at tight ends on top of the receiving core and the depth that you have, that makes this offense that much more deadly, even neutralizing the potential of using a running back because that's our deficiency.
So as you keep talking and you keep revving up and your voice rises an octave, and all of us in this chat know these things. We know what we have and we've seen what we've seen and we follow the recruiting. Why is there this wet towel on the Georgia offense and Mike Bobo, despite the fact that we've been hanging 40 on teams we should be hanging 40 on? I mean, get out of the X's and O's. Let's talk meta. Let's talk perception. Let's talk media talk for a second.
Inception.
Are we supposed to be putting 60 on people? Are we supposed to be putting 50 to nothing? Because I got news for everybody who's watching. That's not Kirby's style. Kirby controls this team. Kirby, in case you didn't know, was the head coach, and Kirby is a man who likes to get down in the mud and get into a street fight and play tough, old school football. All right, that's his DNA. Now we've gotten away from that here and there. But for the media and the fans from other teams and some of the fans on our own teams who were, I think they're latching on to the Fire Bobo like they had a pacifier in their mouth back in the old days, kind of like the 1980 jokes. We're not going to be blowing people out 73-3. That's not his style. He don't want to do that. If we get out of
Don't
hand,
tell that to Pat. Don't tell that to Project Pat.
well, hold on now. If we get out of hand on Carolina and we start beating the dog shit out of them, he gonna call them off because he's not gonna do that to me.
No,
He's
he
not gonna
won't.
do
No,
that
he
to
won't.
Shane. I bet
Bullshit.
you he will. I
Bullshit.
bet you he will.
Listen. Kirby, I'll tell you, deep down, Kirby does not like Shane Beamer. Think about it, man. You going for it on fourth down when he didn't get the fourth down. Everybody remembers that first down, motherfucker. Everybody remembers it. Listen, there's a reason why we ran the offense and we're shooting play, shooting. Think about this. Back to Delp, right? That touchdown. I'm telling you, for some reason he just doesn't like it, and I think a lot of it too is right. There may I don't know. I'm not going to say I know, but because I don't. But like when you look at their philosophies on the game, this is fun for Shane Beamer, right? For Kirby, this is everything. This is a business. This is a life, right? And those two polar opposites generate some fiercity. Like, listen, there was a recent that they got asked about Tyler Simmons being offside or all. You're right. Tyler Simmons on sides.
I saw this. Go ahead though. Yeah. I know.
The If you listen to the response from both head coaches, they were polar opposites. Think about this. Beamer was, he says he was past it, but there was a lot of emotion behind of it, right? Kirby, his response moved on to the next play, right? They should have been all they would false start anyway, shouldn't have counted anyway. Completely different. Completely. I do want to get some more comments, so Ducati, before we get to
No,
the
bring him in here. I
before
got him.
we listen, before we start, we got to do some keys to victory here soon. Seed Vision, welcome into the. Hold on, we got Rudes in the building saying, "Make me bark." Oh
Yeah,
my word, make
yeah.
my what? Did
I agree.
someone?
With you, man. I agree with you, man. Here, make me bark, but make me bark is out, hot. Leave him in the dust. Make a guy fall down. Let's see some fireworks.
But nah, I think so. Kind of getting back to the game, right? Saturday, 3:30, Athens. I got to address this. I want to hear your thoughts on this. This whole Kirby and Taka Hemingway thing, right? I thought it was a little bit overblown. Just myself, just myself. Um, I think it's kind of overblown. People are looking at Kirby like, oh, he really has to do this and this and that. Kirby's done this since he took over the head coaching job at Georgia. Dude, he challenged the fan base to be there for fucking G Day at 2016. This just what Kirby does, and that was a softball question to get him to rile the fan base up. Just gonna leave it there. Now the funny thing is, if you go back to SEC media days, Tonka Hemingway just didn't mention Georgia, right? It's just funny how Georgia and our fans will take that and fucking run with it. It's like, oh, you don't think Georgia? You don't think Sanford Stadium is loud? You don't think? Listen, when you've won back-to-back championship, you got to find a way to get motivated. If that means from the fan base doing that, fuck it. I'm here for it.
I
I'm
guarantee
here
you,
for it.
everything Tonka said and everything Reese Davis has said is plastered somewhere on a wall in our facility.
Man, you know what though?
Reese Davis has us number 3.
I know. So
Number 3.
low key. Kirby Smart is sitting here this week, just just laying into people like, bro, you see this? They don't fucking respect us. You hear
Y'all
this shit?
struggled in the first
Hold
quarter. Did you see what they said? They said y'all, Kangaroo Black said y'all gonna lose 3 games this year because you couldn't score in the first quarter against UT Martin. Hey, Robert, it you are going to see first form Georgia, first form this weekend, first form.
I definitely think you see a step up. Now
There's 3
again,
forms. First form this weekend, mid form in Jacksonville, final form at
wait,
Neyland Stadium.
there's a fourth. It's over level 9,000.
Hey, babe, look, we have broken the world. Dog fans, do you realize we have broken the world? We have broken college football fans. We have disseminated the whole SEC homer pride. That shit's out the window. It was crumbling, but Georgia brought it home after the way these people showed their ass. These LSU, these Carolina, these Bama, these Florida fans after Georgia won back-to-back, the way they showed their ass, fuck them all.
I mean,
I pulled for Texas. Oh, God, I'm going to get sick. I pulled for Texas in Tuscaloosa just to stick at the Bama fans. This SEC thing is over. Now it's Georgia and the rest of them. And the rest of them turned on us.
Let's see. Sacred Grove saying, "We want Georgia." Yeah, Texas calling for "We want Georgia" chance in the post
Okay.
game. And listen,
I
that I
want
mean,
Texas. Bring them. Come on.
so what you're saying is bring that ass here, boy. Okay,
I
got it,
want here's
got it.
Robert. Here, I know you got to get moving with your show. I just want to say this: playoffs. Here's my dream scenario. This is my dream scenario. We draw USC in the first round and thump their heads off the fucking turf, and we wind up with Texas in the national championship. And there's no more Vince Young. It's just the power of the dog.
Yeah, Sacred Grove says Kirby's Texas won. Yeah, no doubt. No, I do. Maybe while you're here, man, I want to get your. What's the key to victory for this Saturday? What are your keys to victory? Just give me one or so.
Keep doing what we do. I think we have to. I think Carson Beck has to be crisp in the pass game because I think the formula now is load the box, right? It almost reminds me of that 2019 season where Carolina, of all teams, under Muschamp, loaded the box, had success. Everybody else took notes, stopped Georgia the rest of the season, made us look pedestrian. I think this is the coming out party for Carson Beck. And by coming out party, no, I don't mean 500 yards and Shadur Sanders. I mean right under 300, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, keep them honest because I think Carolina's going to try to load that box, and I think we've got to dump it on their heads. And I think that we're going to win the game no matter what. I think that makes it look sexy. Key to victory to me is Carson Beck settles in, Dominic Lovett tightens his chin strap and stops getting his helmet knocked off, stops dropping easy passes. I think Arian Smith starts getting open down the field. I think we get Brock Bowers involved in the game plan again, and I think we utilize Cash Jones in the wheel route game. I think the ball goes through the air, through Carson Beck's hands, into our receiving threats. Last week we had what, like 12 guys touch the ball.
Yeah, it was an insane amount. This
Let,
is
let,
this is
let's
something this is something that I genuinely want people to understand. If you're a Gamecock fan that just so happens to follow and following right now and listening in, I know your top two receivers are legit. But outside of that, production wise, what do you have? I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, when you look at Georgia's receiving depth, you've got Ladd. I don't even think Ladd's going to play,
he's
but
not.
you have Ladd. So even then, Ladd's out, right? So you've got Marcus Roseme, you've got Dominic Lovett, you've got Robert Thomas. Keep that name in mind. Arian Smith, C.J. Smith, right? Like you've got list after list. Makai Muse, Dylan Bell, right? Like there's a lot of guys that's been able to get in the game. They've actually caught passes, things like that, right? The depth, man, is just insane. It's next level shit. My key to victory, though, you talked about offense, right? And I see Walla Walla says protect Beck, burn him with receivers, and step up D line pressure. He is hitting nail on the head for me, and my key to victory is get home, right? Welcome home, Spencer Rattler, because home, what I mean by that is your ass on the ground. Georgia's got to do that to Spencer Rattler this week. Get him on the ground. Um, if you give him time, I think, listen, I love our secondary, but it's extremely hard to cover for 5 seconds, 6 seconds. You have to get home. You have to get home, get him out, like force him out into errant throws, right? You just got to do it, right? Offensively, I do agree with you. I think you're going to have to air this bitch out, and I'm okay with that. But you know what I would love to see? I would love to see basically a 0-2 personnel where you have Brock and Delp because they did this against Ball State where they put him back, Brock back at the running back. If you put like both of those guys and then just went empty with no running backs, dude, it would fuck them up. Like shut up, Brooks Austin. I saw this and it just made perfect sense. I'm on board with it. You put empty set with Brock and Delp, but you construe them with some motion, right? Dude, if they're playing man coverage, that's just gonna mind fuck people. And if that happens, that's how you create mismatches and just right and lapses in coverage.
And don't forget the intangibles, baby. You talked about that D line. And we are all aware of South Carolina's woes at O line, and we're all aware of how they downplayed Sanford Stadium. I look for four, maybe more key false starts in this game.
You know what? I see Sacred Grove brings up a good point here. Talk about Makai Muse, which leads me to this. Win the special teams battle just to prove a point, make a
Sure.
statement. The reason why I say that is listen, Mitch Jeter, Kai Kroger, excellent special teams. That's what Beamer holds his hat on. He's a special teams guy. Right? I get that. But when you have, for what it's worth, Makai Muse, the Waffle House, is a game changer back there right now. He's done something that we hadn't had in years, right? Return a punt for a touchdown. Excellent field. If you remember, excellent field position to start the game last week, right? He's just twitchy and he just finds some holes. He's small. He's like 5'6", whatever. I don't even care. He's electric and it provides the spark. And if you get that spark, it's the same thing that we saw against Tennessee with Dorson, right? Special teams will win you a game if you execute, right?
Sure.
You start, listen, Beck might not throw for 400 yards, but if Makai Muse gets the ball from a field, right, whether it's a punt or kickoff, and he starts us in good field position, that's all I'm worried about. The yards can come whenever. I don't care. I want to throw up some fucking points and beat their ass. That's just what I want to see. You said
Now,
me?
in addition to that, would you all like to see this offensive line that was advertised as the greatest thing since sliced bread actually push some dudes around and let's get some running game going?
I
Would you
think.
also like to see that?
Oh, you have to see that. You have to. Listen, Dejan didn't play last Saturday. Dressed out, could have if you needed him, if you needed to. That means I think this week there's a chance that you might see him out there playing. Right?
Okay. What is your final thoughts on Kendall Milton?
Not healthy, but I like the
Can't
uh,
cut.
well because he's not healthy. I get I get where you're coming from, but I think this. I want to see, right, and this is the perfect scenario right now for what it's worth. When you've got Cash Jones and Dylan Bell, and listen, the,
Oh, you
that
like Dylan Bell, did you?
listen,
I
fuck
like
yeah,
Dylan Bell.
fuck yeah, dude. He was a high school run, dude. He was a running back in high school. Why not utilize it if you can?
Mm,
I mean, South Carolina's doing it with Dak Joyner, converted receiver to running back. But the thing about it is this: you have Roderick Robinson, you've got Dejon Edwards if he's healthy, right? I do want to see those guys get into a rhythm, but at the same time, I think it's a correlation. We've had success running the ball on the right side of the offensive line, not so much the left side, right? You need an overall team effort. Listen, again, this is a game I think Xavier Truss he has to step up. If he doesn't, someone will take his place. And I think that's probably Fairchild or Jared Wilson.
interesting. I was reading some
Because
evidence
if it,
that
because
Fairchild is on Kirby's radar.
no, dude, he's a six man. Him and Jared Wilson are probably 6, 7 guys on the spot behind ahead of Micah.
If Cedric were to go down, who plays center?
Jared Wilson. He's your backup center.
Without Blasky. I know Blasky's down too.
Yeah, with the health stuff, the sickness and stuff, I think he could play. I don't know if he. We'll see if he dresses out, but the spot would be if Cedric when Cedric goes out, right? Because if we rotate out, Jared Wilson is your backup center, and for what it's worth, I'm excited for Jared Wilson because he's more athletic than Cedric.
That's true.
Not listen. Obviously, I love Cedric. Not gonna right. Not
Oh,
gonna say that I don't.
Cedric is the only guy on this team that I would concede. If he were to go down, we would be affected wholesale.
Oh no, I mean, dude, his
Wholesale.
intelligence is insane. I will say though, Jared Wilson. I think Jared Wilson brings me some comfort there. But again, I think if you're looking at backup center, right, Jared Wilson. I think probably first man off the bench
Okay.
in regards to the
Yep.
rotation, probably
Yep.
be Fairchild
Sure.
because Fairchild did it. He got if you saw him, he got in some run on the left side and I think right side when Tate went out for a little bit. Rotated to right guard because that was the run. If you remember this, the run against Ball State where Fairchild fell on the ground and Roderick just hurdled over him pretty quickly and scampered in. So that's what collected on my head. Let's see. Walla Walla asked a good question here. How does South Carolina score, and how's their special teams looking? So special teams, you always have to believe that South Carolina special teams are, for what it's worth, going to be set. The onside kick against North Carolina converted it. Even if the hot dog caused a little delay, I don't care what happened. They still converted the onside kick. So you always have to be mindful when it comes to Mitch Jeter and Kai Kroger. Accurate kicker, good punter. Right, they're going to be set with special teams. But when it comes to South Carolina scoring, right, you're going for what it's worth. I think you're going to have to. If I had to choose, you have to be aggressive and attack vertically. But that also, which is it's going to be difficult because of their offensive line. I've said this before. The the extension of the run game is hard to do against Georgia because of the safeties flying down. They key the reads, they meet you at the line of scrimmage, and they tackle. The one thing I will say, I need to see more consistent tackling from the first point of contact because there's several times we've seen this in the first two games. Guys will hit, but they will miss the first tackle, and then obviously gang tackles after that. But I want to see solid tackling behind the line of scrimmage. That way, there's no chance for them to keep their balance like what we saw against Ball State.
Fair, fair.
But I think you'd have to be meticulous, Walla. Get first downs, right? Try to go about it. You listen. You could try to take shots, but I'm telling you right now, Malachi, and even if Buller's not playing, if David Daniel plays safety and David and Dan rotate in and out there, Tyke at the star, Malachi at the safety, right? I still feel comfortable there. And even if you need to, think about this: if however you want to play it, you can put Tyke back at safety, put Aguero at the star, or Aguero at the safety, Tyke at the star. But I think you would see David and then Dan rotating in, just based off of the experience and things like that, especially with Spencer Rattler, because for what it's worth, if he gets hot, he gets hot, right?
So we've got Lassiter on one corner, correct?
Yes.
Who did anybody lock down the other side? Because I've seen Humphrey. I've seen
Everett had a really
Galen
good
Everett.
game. Everett had a really good game in game two.
Like, who's the
If
other
you're
guy?
if you're looking, so I feel like you can rotate this thing in until someone fully grasps this spot. I look at it this way: Everett got better at coverage, but he's more of a run support guy. He's a stuffer, right? Same with Lassiter, but Julian Humphrey is the better cover corner, right? So it depends on how they feel about the receiver too, if that's the case, or how they really you could see do the guys flip, do they flip fields or do they stay to their sides?
And where
You
does
know,
Nyland Green fit in there?
I think he still fits in the rotation. I just don't know if he's done enough to grasp the CB2 spot. I think what it's worth right now, I think it is kind of for what it's worth, kind of a slight lead in two-man race at this point with Everett and Julian. I think both of them played really well, by the way. Right? Julian Humphrey, hell, nobody's really throwing his way. And listen, if you look at, I worry about Lassiter, right? Especially with Leggett. That's my one concern. So if you're looking at scoring, catch Lassiter somehow, right? Because he's not the best coverage guy. Run support, top notch, love it. I want to see I want to see him step up in coverage and be just fine too. He can cover. I just want to make sure because Leggett has looked really good.
Okay.
Looked really good.
All right.
So I want to see how that works. But again, I think you can scheme things open if you needed to. But I don't think Kirby is worried about that enough. But if something happens, I think you could see some changes where you might have Malachi rolling down.
And who amongst Carolina's ranks are going to run it down our throat? How's their run game look, Robert?
Crappy, just to be PG.
Oof.
I mean, I'm not saying they don't have guys, but it's just
Right.
not. It's just not there right now. You see what I mean? Like,
Here's what you need to normalize. If you don't have an elite running game, you can hang it up. If you have an elite running game, you can pretty much still hang it up. There's one thing we will do forever. You will not run the ball on us. Period.
we predicate ourselves on that, man.
Period. Bijan Robinson, Barry Sanders, Emmett Smith. If they came across Kirby's Dogs, they're not going to get much.
Got to be careful with that. And that's bold take.
No,
I like
I'm
it.
not being
I like
careful.
it though.
I'm telling you the truth. We're the ones to do it. There's one thing in Kirby's history that we've always excelled at. You ain't gonna run the ball. You'll get plays here and there. You're not going to run the ball.
I mean, you're right.
Carolina can't run the ball, and they're shitty at it to begin with. I'm not a whole lot worried about this weekend, my man.
Well, with that being said, I see Walla has a final score prediction of 38-13, which leads me to this next question, Ducati. What's your score prediction if you had to choose this matchup?
42-10.
42-10. Okay. When do they get the first touchdown? As a question.
I think Rattler gets hot, hot for one score in the second quarter.
So I'm curious to see how the first drive goes because UT Martin and Ball State had a nice situation where the first drive, right? So our first quarter, another thing, the time, the rule, man, like you don't get the same amount of time. What feels like, right? What we saw last year.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a dink and dunk type drive going against our defense, it just eat some clock. If Georgia doesn't score on that first drive, it makes it look worse than what it really is. I mean, like you hold them scoreless, but again, with the clock running, we have to understand that clock, man, that shit just gets ate up. You see what I mean? So I'm not necessarily too concerned about it, but I do think that's something to keep in mind because I mean, if they have a good scripted drive, then there you go.
Great, but I mean, all I can go on is history. History says this. Last year, Kent State scored 22 points. Missouri scored 22 points. Carolina scored 7 in their own house.
Yeah, we dominated that game. That game was
That was the team that continues to this day to score touchdowns on Tennessee.
Yeah, I think I think as you just said that, I think Hendon Hooker came back and or they took another L because South Carolina scored on them again.
I think they did. I think it's up to like 140 to whatever Tennessee
How,
scrambled up.
how
But I
many?
mean,
If that's the case, how many fingers does Rattler have right now? Good lord.
exactly. Like, here's what I want to say: the hot takes and the I need to be first and I need to be right and I need to be controversial on my college football picks. Y'all need to slow down. Y'all need to slow down and shh, because Georgia's got it. Georgia's
I'm,
got this. You don't need to be crazy when it comes to Georgia. You just need to trust the process and trust that we have the best roster and we have
yep.
the best staff. And yeah, we're going to miss passes. And yeah, we're going to get stuffed at the line. At the end of this season, I truly believe we're going to be the first ever team to be undisputed three-peat champion.
Well, we're German.
You ain't got to like it, but you better learn to live with it.
Leads me to my next
This
question.
is the truth, and this is the best thing going today.
I will say this: I'm gonna save my prediction for our DGD picks of the week, just for show purposes. But I do think Georgia wins this game. Spoiler alert! Surprise, surprise!
Ooh.
I'm gonna say my spoiler alert there for the right. But no, I see. Like I said, Walla has 38-13. Sacred Grove has 48-9 with 3 field goals. They'll get in they'll get some drives and stall out in the red zone. The red zone defense has been fairly good to this point. Obviously, we haven't played that. We ain't played nobody, but we'll see how that looks. You know what I mean? But no, who was your player of the game? Who's your player of the game prediction?
Me?
Yeah,
Player of the game. Oh man. I'm gonna go with Carson Beck.
surprise.
I think this is going to be his settle in, settle down. Let me show you what I'm all about moment.
Though I think again, like I said, they run a bunch of press man, so I mean it makes sense for them to do the right, just air it out. I think that's what you got to do with this. They're going to load the box, I think too. Sacred Grove says Brock and Starks. I'm going to go defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go with Michael Williams.
Love it, want it, love it, hope it happens.
I think the man gets a couple sacks easy. Just wreaks havoc from the edge. I need that edge presence, right? That's just my take on it. But if I had to go anything on offense, give me Ra Thomas. Give me Ra Thomas. Getting the playbook situated.
All right, so you're going Michael on D, Rah Rah on O. I went Carson on O. Do I get a D pick?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
If you want to do a
Do your
defensive
thing,
pick,
and I'll make my D
well,
pick. I got him.
I think we brought in Rara Thomas because we don't have a 50-50 ball getter, someone that beats one on ones, and that is the guy to do it. So if you, like I said, I've said it again, they are a man team, man defense team. That means there's one on ones, which means somebody's got to get open, and I think Rara Thomas will be that guy to do it. If you just listen, third down situations, watch him be the guy, or love it. I can see love it too, but if Ladd doesn't play, I think you need that. Think about it. AD Mitchell was our X, right?
Yeah.
When it came down to it, you had a three by one, right? And AD Mitchell was your one, and on third down and medium, third and long, you threw it to him and he came down with it. That's what Rara's supposed to be. I think this happens this week.
I hear you. Can I give my D now?
Go for it. That's yeah. Give
I
it.
believe the defensive player of the game will be Malachi Starks because Spencer Rattler's going to try to be Superman. That's the only chance they have. He's going to try to make the play, and Malachi Starks, yes, sir. He discourages a great many up and coming boys. And I think this weekend he's going to discourage the South Carolina Gamecocks. Malachi Starks.
If I had, you know what though, I like the secondary pick, but if I had to choose though, man, watch Tyke Smith this game. I think the reason being their offensive line, right? We know is a deficiency. With that being said, you try to get the ball out quick. Tyke Smith is your best. If Bullard doesn't play, he becomes the best surefire tackler in the DB room. He's always crashing. I think he can have a ton of tackles this week.
I think Malachi going to probably snag one, maybe two.
That's fair. I mean,
He discourages a great many up and coming boys.
no, you're not wrong.
Remember what I said.
I mean, you're not wrong there. I think,
Hey man, what about Gabe Harris last week?
boy,
What
had a
about
really
Gabe
good game.
Harris? What about who I was a little Jamal and Jordan right there at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and they did their thing. I was kind of selfishly hoping that them young boys would be like, you know what, man, I'm gonna be the next Jalen Carter. Watch this, and they didn't do it, and I get it. I get it. That was just me being selfish. But what I want
Rightfully so.
is for them both to say, "Yeah, I'm gonna be the next. I'm gonna be the next Jalen."
Boy,
Jalen Carter, who set, I think, a record in the NFL.
pressures on his rookie debut. Yeah, that
He
shit was
was
nasty.
Jalen Carter was in there like, who? Grown men who? Get out my way. Come on.
So while Wallace says Brock or Carson Beck, Williams would be great too. That would be awesome to see. Yeah, I think. Listen, I think this is the week where you get right for creating havoc plays. I mean, we've had interceptions, right? We had 3 takeaways, right? We had 3 last, right? That's your havoc play. That's a good amount of havoc plays, but also it doesn't always have to be picks. I want to see some sacks. We've had a lot, I want to see some interior pressure, right? I want to see the pocket collapse from inside. And then if you have the right edge play, it just collapses on them. That's how you get home. We saw the same shit with Hendon Hooker last year, right? Pocket collapse inside. He can't run nowhere because the edge play comes in, crashes down, bam, nowhere to go. Or quarterback blitz with Javon Bullard twice, right? I mean, hell, pick your poison last season, but you know what I mean. I'm neither here nor there. I mean, those are all good. Those are all good picks, man. Is there any dark horse kind of players that you think could be one to watch for?
Mm-hmm. You go first.
I like it. Oscar Delp. Oscar
Dylan
Delp.
Bell.
I'll tell you, you think Dylan Bell? I can see that too. I think
Because I think Dylan Bell, he's getting these hits on social media about being Georgia's Debo Samuel, and I'm like, okay, yeah, if you want to be Debo Samuel, let's do it.
you know what though? I just want to see him be Dylan Bell, man. I'd love to see our running back situation get right. But if that means you're telling me that you're going to have Cash Jones running wheel routes, which by the way, another bold take, we will score on a wheel route because what I saw so far, their defense is not disciplined. North Carolina had a tight end played left tackle for one play, and they didn't even catch on to it. They had a left tackle out wide in the slot, and they didn't see it. Nobody called it or nothing, and this tight end just goes and just got right into the red zone, and boom, near the 5 yard line. I don't feel I don't feel the disciplines there, and if that's the case, some schemes are going to go Georgia's way, and
It's
I think
so
Delp could be the
hard.
guy though.
It's so hard when we talk about dark horse for Georgia because everybody's so damn good. Dark
Yeah,
horse means like, yeah, there's some good, there's some mediocre, and then there's you.
yeah.
But with Georgia, it's like everybody's good to just sort of good, and there's no drop off. I mean, tell me where's the weakness? Where is the weakness? Dark horse shows up in the weakness.
Offensive line. You need. I'd like to see a dark horse like Xavier Truss have a really fucking good game, make a statement game. That would be my dark horse on the offensive line. I
Xavier
mean,
Truss.
mhm.
Okay.
I mean that if I had to go offensive line, that's who I would say. They need to be the dark horse on this one. I mean, I feel. Listen, I might be wrong. I'm not going to say that I'm. Obviously, I'm not. I'm not Stacey Searles, right? I'm not. But I definitely think that this is a make or break game for him. It's just my thing. You know what I mean? Sacred Grove says Gabe Harris is his dark horse, I believe. He said he would call our dark horse someone who no one is talking about but will be after this game. Gabe Harris had a quiet, really good game. See, my thing is this: the inner side of me wants to say Damon Wilson wreaks havoc, but I don't see it happening this week,
Right.
right?
I'll latch on to that.
Mm,
Someone who no one is talking about but will after this game. Marvin Jones Jr.
I like it. I like that a lot. I think he solidifies the edge like we need him to. For some reason, I feel more confident with him and Michael on the edges than with Chambliss and um, Michael. That's just me. I know
Although
Chambliss ain't bad.
Chambliss has done nothing wrong. Chambliss has been he got immaculate interception. He's eaten somebody's thorax. Yeah, I think he got a sack. Like he's done nothing wrong.
I mean, he had a fatality against Blake Corum in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, that's that's
and the immaculate interception. I just wish it was against a better team.
it was the pit kick. But no, I mean, ultimately though, I think you've heard our player predictions. You've heard our right. You haven't heard my score prediction because I'm saving that for our DGD picks. Speaking of, do you want to join us for the picks of the week?
Robert, I'm ready to join you whenever. I'm surprised I haven't been
Hey,
invited more. I think most people can't handle my personality, but that's all right.
I mean, we just got to turn back time. That's all it is. As
That's
simple
all
as
you
that.
got to
Now, Sacred Grove did say he definitely got better. Yeah, no doubt. He's gotten better. I just still feel like you need the guy to pure pass rush. Run support, Chad Chambliss is that dude. I just need pass rush. I just want pass rush.
I think
If
it's Marvin Jones Jr., baby.
well,
Marvin Jones,
he just
Damon
sets the
Wilson,
edge right, and it'll be
Gabe
yeah.
Harris, Dems you rushers. Raylan
Oh,
Wilson came back into the
yep.
game last week. Missed a
So,
tackle, but I forgave him because I know he got hurt.
yep. Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I like where we are. Right. I mean, we've made our predictions. We've talked enough about the Gamecocks. But first things first, let's jump into our picks of the week. Now, Ducati, this is spontaneous, sir.
Oh
But
snap! What am I getting into? Am I
what are you
involved
doing?
in this now?
Well, I'm gonna let you be involved. All
Oh
right, I'm gonna let
snap!
you be involved. So, I'm gonna break it down for those that aren't familiar with this because you're also new to this. So we have 10 picks, right? We have 10 picks. We have a lock of the week and an upset of the week. So, with that being said, let's jump into the first pick of the week. That is Penn State taking on Illinois, right? Taking on those Fighting Illini. Now, for what it's worth, the Brigade and everyone else, Keon, Kobe, Juan, and myself, all chose Penn State. I don't see this being an issue. Drew Aller should go off. But what say you, sir? What is your pick for this week?
My pick is Penn State.
I think that's fairly easy. Sacred Grove says Penny State. Yeah, I mean, I think that's an easy, dead giveaway answer there. But I like it. You know what I mean? I think that's a easy answer.
This is the best team that Franklin has assembled in
I think
State
so too.
College.
I
This
think so too.
for him, like we don't live in their world, but in their world, it's now or never. And
Yep.
I think they have quietly been taking care of business and look good while they're doing it. I will pick Penn State, and I'm gonna probably pick Penn State in some games later this year that some
Mm,
folks might not. I
I
think they
think so.
might have something for the traditional powers of the Big Ten. This is
I
a
think so
good
too.
Penn State team.
I think so too. Moving on to the next matchup, you got Washington traveling to East Lansing and Michigan State.
Uh,
This
ugly.
game had the
Mm,
luster, but it
mm,
seems to have lost it since.
yeah,
Everyone clean sweep with Washington over Michigan State. I'm not going to count them out 100% Michigan State, but I think this is an easy one. But for what it's worth, who do you go for in that matchup, sir?
it's an ugly thing in Michigan State, and I hate it for our guy. Um,
In the year 2000. Oh, that's all I saw right there. Yeah, no,
I think Penix and Washington get that ass.
Penn. Yeah,
There's too
I
much
think.
distraction.
Yeah, there's not enough offense for.
Without that, I think Washington would have got the ass because Michael Penix Jr. is a bad motherfucker, man.
No, I think you're right. I think the defense is the only question for me with Washington, but I think Michigan State doesn't have any sort of offense to
Yeah,
scare me against with that. I
I'm
think
taking
this
the Huskies, baby.
this yeah. So you got another matchup here. I think this is a good matchup for what it's worth. Minnesota traveling to Chapel Hill and taking on Drake May and the Tar Heels. Um, for what it's worth, though, everyone chose UNC. What say you?
I'm going to agree with the field. North Carolina, I think, is more athletic. I think Mac Brown has still got something left. They have pretty darn good quarterback. There is nothing Minnesota has shown me other than they beat Nebraska, who we know is still trash. And when the only thing you can show me is that you have beat someone who is still trash, I don't trust you against Mac Brown.
Fair point. Fair point. Now, this to me, I don't know how to feel about this matchup, this next matchup, but it's a true rivalry game, and it's so you know how rivalries go, right? And it's none other than the backyard brawl. Pitt traveling to West Virginia this time to take on the Mountaineers, right? I'm not necessarily feeling confident about either team in regards to having a really good year, but the backyard brawl does generate some good football for what it's worth. It turns out to be one of those games. Um, this is our first bit of conflict here where you've got the Brigade, Kobe, and Juan choosing West Virginia, but Keon and myself are taking Pitt. So, are you on West Virginia side or are you on Pitt side?
Why are you taking Pitt?
I just don't trust West Virginia. I'm not. Their team is not good at all. It's just not.
Any team that would take JT Daniels after he could not explain his injury is a sore in my eyes. I shall take Pitt.
You take Pitt as well, so it evens out the score. I'm not mad about that. Listen, I'm not sold on West Virginia, man. I'm really not. I think
That
Pitt's not that great either. But
I mean,
if you're
you're
looking at
right.
it,
You're right. But after that little run they had, what was it, late 2000s? West Virginia has just been a constant letdown. I think
oh,
it's going to be more.
after the
Pat
Pat White and
Narduzzi at
Geno
least
Smith,
is a name. He's got some accolades. What I couldn't tell you one player or one coach on West Virginia's staff, and the results are they just you're right. They haven't been good. I'm going to take Pitt.
yeah, I think it's an interesting matchup. Now we move into the SEC portion of these
Ooh,
picks.
baby.
First things first, the nerds from Atlanta traveling to the Grove and taking on polar opposite drunks, Ole Miss Rebels. Oh man, I think this is a no-brainer. Everyone chooses Ole Miss over the Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech looks better under Brent Key than what they did again under Jeff Collins.
They do. They
but
look
it's
different.
not enough to handle the offense because Jackson Dart is slinging it,
Yeah, they look different. Georgia
slinging
Tech
it.
looks different, and I want everyone to understand that today in 2023, Georgia Tech is different, looks different, and they are playing different. They can tackle, they can catch, they can block.
They're recruiting better.
But they're going to get that ass waxed by Lane Kiffin, the heir apparent, and you heard it here first, the heir apparent to Nick Saban at Alabama.
Well, they do that. That turns into some wild shit, though, don't it? In all seriousness,
It will
it
be Lane
does.
Kiffin. It will
That
be
does.
Lane Kiffin. You watch and see.
No, it'll be poor old. It'll be old Dabo,
No,
Dabo Roastery.
no. The dew has left the rose on Dabo. It will be Lane Kiffin.
Oh
Here
man.
on this show, it was broken first. Watch and
Uh,
see. Crystal ball. Lane Kiffin will be the next head coach at Alabama, and he will also beat the team you just said.
man, oh man. I will say this though. I think that's going to be an ugly game. I think Quinshaw Judkins has himself a game.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Listen, he didn't have that much of a game against Tulane. I think that shit changes back, goes back to normal Quinshaw. That's just my thoughts.
Georgia Tech. Get out of here.
Kansas State traveling to Como and taking on Missouri. Um, for what it's worth, I'm not necessarily sold on Missouri, but Brady or that Cook kid and Luther Burden combo does seem to be doing some good things.
When was the last time you were ever sold on Missouri?
Let me see. About last season, with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
And what about before that?
Oh, very long time. 2012 when they won the
We're
SEC
never,
East,
we're
or
never
2011, I think it was.
none of us are ever
13,
sold on
2013.
Missouri,
Sorry.
but Missouri's that team that even though you're not sold on them, they do shit. Like,
Listen, if they come out and play right, man, they can be a good team. Like
right,
they can be a good
that
team.
team. They're that team. You're like, ugh. I'm not worried about them, but man, I wish we didn't have to play them. They're that it's that team.
But with that being said, clean sweep from the brigade. Keon, myself, Kobe, Juan, Ducati. Who you got, man?
The Tigers of Missouri.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I think Kansas State.
There's just enough there to make me
Well,
doubt. There's
yeah,
just enough there to make me doubt.
yeah. I think it'll be a good matchup, though. I hope. I mean, I'm probably wrong. Kansas State might. I mean, it's a good. I think it's a good territorial kind of a matchup as well. Though I like the geographical matchup. I do. I do. Next one, BYU returning the favor and going to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Mm-mm.
As we welcome in Keon. Keon, welcome in, sir.
Hello.
We are just in time for our picks. We've went through a few. We're at the BYU and Arkansas matchup now. Here are the results. Right, clean sweep. I don't think this is truly a matchup. I think KJ Jefferson has a damn game. But Ducati, who do you choose in this matchup?
Oh no, I'm with y'all on this one, baby. KJ Jefferson feels like he's been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
He's a damn good one too,
Big,
though, man. That's the
he's
thing.
athletic. I've seen what he can do. Now he didn't do much against us, but I've seen what he can do against others, against other mortal teams. And I'm a Sam Pittman guy. I believe they're big, they're athletic on the trenches. I don't think the Mormons have much for Arkansas.
I mean, first off, all you got to say is this: where she's not even in here. Anything in the state of Utah is pure trash. Okay, so that's why Arkansas wins. Simple as that. Next matchup. Let's move on. I'm tired of talking about trash. LSU taking on Mississippi State, and I think this is interesting. And the reason why I say that is this: Mississippi State is not your air raid anymore. They're running the ball. I think Will Rogers threw like 17 passes, and they ran the ball and beat Arizona, which was actually a pretty interesting game. No, it was Arizona. Yeah, pretty good matchup for what it's worth. I like the new identity change with Arnett there. I do. I think got to give him some time. Obviously, this year replacing Leach on an unexpected situation. I just kind of just let him play free for all, right? I do think it's interesting though to see Mississippi State kind of revert back to a traditional offense. They have running backs, and I like it. I like it. Um, but with that being said, though, man, the results are in, and LSU clean sweeps this. I think LSU is just too talented. Um, I think I'm still not sold 100% on Jaden Daniels. Right, I'm not sold too much on him all the way. Right, but I think he
Mm-hmm.
does enough to beat that defense. Right, Neighbors and Lacey and right. I mean, they've got receivers too. Maybe not the names of old that you're familiar with, but they're legit receivers. Keon, I mean, why did you choose LSU?
I just think that overall, I think LSU is going to be. I think they're going to be a rebounding team, pretty much from what we saw from the first week. I do think against this Mississippi State team, they're going to come out firing on all cylinders. Plus, I mean, honestly, I just think they're going to be a good squad. Honestly, moving forward, I just got LSU winning it here. I don't think it's going to be particularly close because I think they're going to come out throwing the ball, trying to get the ball out to their playmakers. Malik Neighbors, I hope he goes off outside of my own fantasy bias. But yeah, I think he's going to have a pretty big game this game.
Ducati, who do you have in that game?
Oh, I have LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I
pretty
don't
simple.
think
Pretty
LSU is
simple
dead
stuff.
in the water. I think LSU is going to probably be a little pissed off. And LSU historically is not the team you want to wake up and find
They took it
themselves.
out on Grambling. My God,
Yeah,
they
when
put
they
it on
wake up and find
Grambling.
themselves, they like win national championships. What you want is for them to think they're pretty good and yeah, they can do it and rah rah rah. But don't talk too much shit about them because when you do, it's like this dragon that just.
It's
But I
literally
have
like
them
an
winning
active
this game.
volcano.
Yeah, I
It's
don't.
literally an
Mm-hmm.
active
Let's just
volcano.
tell them.
Think about it.
Look, tell them they're good. Tell them they're good, and tell them they're relevant. And yeah, all this, that, and crawfish and rice balls. Leave them alone. Don't tell them
Go
they're shit.
Tigers.
So yeah, don't do. Let them just marinate in Louisiana because when LSU wakes up, man, it's hard to deal with, and I don't want that again. Neither do y'all. But I do believe they're gonna beat Mississippi State.
Yep.
With that being said, let's move on to probably our favorite one of the week. Um, and the reason why I say it's our favorite is because we get to watch one of these teams lose, and we just get to watch and have somebody lose, and it's Tennessee versus Florida in the swamp. Um, yeah, this this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. Tennis. Listen, this is interesting, right? Because the host, the crew, all choose Tennessee in this matchup, right? But Tennessee hasn't looked. They've looked off. They've looked off, and Ducati's still laughing. I love this. They've seemed off, but Florida has seemed worse than the dumpster juice in a week old Chinese restaurant. It's just rough.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can breathe.
Easy now, easy.
Mm.
Fill us in
Y'all,
on this one.
y'all go on ahead and tell what you need to tell, and then I'm gonna give you the truth.
Well, Tennessee historically has been shit in the swamp, but Florida is absolute dog doo doo right now. And I mean, like I said, we all picked Tennessee, but Ducati, who do you choose in this matchup?
I'm going to choose Tennessee, but this is going to be a street fight. You're gonna go down to the swamp and find an old school '90s, '80s SEC matchup because
Both
this
are
game is
predicated
going
for
to
run.
be run game and defense. Let me tell you, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Tennessee has, but I know what they don't have, and what they don't have is Hendon Hooker, and we've seen it 2 weeks in a row. That explosiveness, peace. I don't know what Florida has and what they don't have, but what they don't have is anything resembling an offense or physicality. But a little bit of a defense, and they still got athletes. This is going to become a in the swamp.
I'm just an average Joe. Kendrick Lamar shout out. There you
Yeah,
go.
that 3 yards and a cloud of dust. But I think Tennessee's got this much more.
I think, dude, I'll tell you right now, Tennessee wins it. If they win it, it's because of their run game, because their run game has looked fair. Like, it's looked,
That's much more.
So
And their defenses look better.
well, yeah.
yeah, so I will say this. As of now, of course, outside of the Georgia Bulldogs, I am 0-4 in my SEC picks. So yet again, reverse psychology, right? Because I can see a world where Tennessee could go out there and win it. Uh, Yet again, if Tennessee comes out there with a solid game plan, dedicating themselves to stopping the run, they try to get the ball to their playmakers as soon as possible. I could see Tennessee pulling it out. But I can see that crowd noise playing a factor. I can see Florida going into that game saying, hey, look, we're going to control the line of scrimmage up front and we're going to pound the rock. We're going to get the ball to our playmakers as quick as possible, slant screen routes, and honestly, rub routes off of their wide receivers. I could see them making that adjustment and honestly just trying to suffocate Joe Milton, or Bazooka Joe is what they like to call him. Uh, but just like Bazooka Joe, the gum, this guy might get chewed up and spit out down there in the swamp. So, uh,
Yeah.
And if Tennessee does lose this game,
also, I do want to throw it out there. This is a must win for Florida. A must win for
yes, it
Florida.
is. And if they do, though, and Tennessee loses, um, our path just gets that much easier because the math now starts to work in our favor in addition to the manageable schedule that we have.
Yeah. Staker Greg made a
Mhm.
comment saying that he thinks that Mertz is going to have a long day. Dude, he's going to have a long day every Saturday. Like, dude's fucking
Yeah, no,
garbage. Dude's fucking
yeah.
garbage, man.
This
But good, I mean, good
if
comment, though.
things,
Good comment for real.
I mean, if things don't go the way how they're supposed to, for Florida, this could be one of his longest
Let
days.
me ask you this. Is this the best Tennessee team to ever take the field since 2003?
No.
No,
Fuck no.
No. Okay, then why is it that they haven't won in Gainesville since 2003?
I don't know. But it don't, not my fucking problem either, Ducati. It's not my problem.
So what I'm telling you
bad
is
coaching.
you might get surprised. I'm taking Tennessee this much, but you might get surprised. You might
Hmm.
get surprised.
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now, this next matchup, there ain't no fucking surprise about it. Oh, man. South Carolina taking on them Georgia Bulldogs down in Athens. And I'm going to let y'all know right now, it's a clean sweep. It's going to get ugly. It's going.
Yeah, this isn't going to be close at all. The closest it's going to be the entire game is minutes before they kick the ball off, and after that, it's just going to get out of hand.
So with
Um,
with Keon, now that you're here, I do want to give you an opportunity, real quick, to let us in on your takeaways from this game. So, what is a key to victory? Who is a player to watch? Who is your player prediction, like for the player of the game? Or who's your MVP for this game? And what's your score prediction? I'm gonna let you get a quick rundown since we weren't able to get you in at the time.
Players of the game, because it's not just one. It's going to be our defensive line. Okay, we're about to take a bunch of fat boys to the damn Golden Corral, and we're just about to watch them eat. Honestly, it's about to get disgusting. You're telling me that UNC, my Tar Heels, a prominent basketball school, can come out there and get 9 sacks? If we don't hit double digits, I'm going to be pissed, and we are going to have we will have a big problem on our hands. Uh,
I don't think we get double
what
digits,
was the
Keon,
other
to
one?
interrupt you.
I
No, so you got your
You don't
key to
believe it?
victory. I think they get the ball out of their hands
Okay.
too fast, man. Everybody's done that against Georgia. So the lack of sacks for me, I'm not necessarily concerned if as long as we keep and contain it behind the line of scrimmage are very minimal. I've started to understand that they understand our defense gets home quick, so they have to get the ball out in under like 2 seconds, 2.4, 2.5 seconds. That shit's out of their
We're
hands.
about to see a bunch of turnovers.
Yeah,
We're about
because
to
you
see a
can't.
bunch of
This
turnovers then.
ain't. I don't know. I mean, how many teams can successfully pull that shit off at the college level?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Then we're
Give me a
about
list.
Yeah, we're about to see a bunch of
Let
turnovers.
me check my Palm
Like
Pilot real
God
fast.
sucks.
Keon, so what's your key to victory for Georgia to win this since you picked Georgia?
Uh Really just to go out there, play their game. Fire on all cylinders, get a solid game plan going out early, having our offense fire on all cylinders early, getting honestly just winning the trenches, winning the point of attack in the trenches. Um, there's some guys that I'm looking at when it comes to our offensive line, mostly focusing in on the left side because it looks like just like we said before, we're all of our success is really to the right. I mean, with Ratledge on the right side, you can really do whatever you want to at that point. But our left side of our offensive line has really been our major concern. Um, if those guys aren't coming out firing on all cylinders from jump, you may see some substitution in the game. But yeah, really just winning in the trenches. If you're not winning in the trenches, then I got some news for your big trust. Might have to move some stuff around.
Yeah. What's your score prediction, man? If you had to choose a score prediction for the game,
If I had to give you a score prediction, I'd say this might be the first game that we actually hit 50 points because I really believe Kirby Smart hates Shane Beamer.
Shit.
That's just me
Oh
personally.
shit. Oh shit.
We're gonna hit 50 points this game, and honestly, I think we're gonna hit 50 points and we're gonna cover the spread.
Well,
Good teams win, great teams cover. Go Dogs.
seems like you have something to say, Ducati. Go for it.
I think we're gonna cover, but I get, what did I say? 42-10?
That sounds right. I
I
got
said
45.
Kirby will, give some a little bit of respect to Beamer and pull him off. Robert said no. Colby's saying no.
Yeah,
Y'all
no,
are saying that the boots might drop.
yeah. Me and Keon we're about that action, man. We know Kirby hates.
Yeah,
We know he hates him.
yeah. He actually like some
Why?
coaches
Why
might have
does he
an
hate Shane Beamer?
from the last time he was here. I don't think that ended well. And I honestly think, like me personally, I personally believe this. This is nobody else's opinion but my own, right? I think Kirby Smart began to hate him while he was still on staff. And ever since that point, he's hated him ever so much after that.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm going score prediction, I'm gonna go 45-10. I think they get a field goal in the first half, but then garbage touchdown. So
52-10 for me. I'll give you that one.
52-10 for Keon, 45-10 for me. It's a lot to a little,
Okay.
regardless. All right, moving on. The locks of the week. Now, Ducati, this is you're spontaneous here, so I'll give you a chance here to think about this. Keon, you chose Ohio State as a lock over Western Kentucky. I chose Colorado over Colorado State. I think that's going to be a good game, but I think Colorado is. I'm starting to buy into it. Juan chooses Miami over Bethune Cookman, and Kobe chose Notre Dame over Central Michigan. If there is a lock of the week, Ducati, what would your lock be?
Colorado.
Out of any game in the college football slate.
I got news for you. I don't know what your feelings are about it, and I don't care. I know that Colorado is playing solid ball with some dudes. There were people out there who said, "Oh no, 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 they will win 3, 4 games max." They are on the precipice of winning their third after beating TCU and Nebraska. And I believe they will continue that. And I believe, no, I know that's a lock. They will beat Colorado State. Now, where I will start to draw questions on Colorado, and this is a conversation that might not be this, is when they go to Autzen Stadium.
That's the
I,
23rd, yeah.
I do believe they're going to beat the brakes off Colorado State. They will be 3-0 going against our boy, Dan Lanning, in Autzen Stadium.
Oh man,
That is
leads.
a lock. Now,
Listen, I don't want Colorado to
just
screw me
put
out of
in
2
front of me,
points.
I mean, come on now. They're all locks, but that is a lock. And it's also a lock with the biggest headlines.
Yeah, for what it's worth. Which moves us to the upsets of the week, and this is going to surprise some folks because we just did this. Keon and Kobe both choose their upset pick. They are understanding the risk that comes with this, right? They're trying to. I guess you could say I'm gonna let Keon explain this why he chose this, but they're choosing Florida over Tennessee while also picking Tennessee to win in the pick'em. Right? It's all a points game here, right? Understand that it's a points matchup. It's a game, so they're taking the risk to try to get 2 points if they beat, right? If Florida does beat Tennessee, that means they get 2 points. But they also don't get the point if Florida does win, they don't get the point from the pick. But they do add the point from the correct pick if Tennessee wins, although they just waste their upset pick. So I guess that's a quick explanation, but I think we've talked enough about this to kind of understand the short story for this. This game's going to be close, I think, potentially. I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to be close, but I do think the stadium environment's going to play a factor. I'm just curious, but I just think Tennessee starts running away. I just don't. I'm not sold on Florida's run defense yet, and Tennessee's run game is stronger than last year, and I think it's compensating for the lack of deficiencies in the passing game. That's just my thoughts. Juan chooses the upset Northern Illinois over Nebraska. I choose James Madison over Troy. A little bit of you have to understand those teams, but I think James Madison can do it. Ducati, if you had to choose an upset out of any slate this week, who would you choose?
It's going to be that Florida game.
Damn, y'all all three going for it.
No, I mean, and I think I called my man here, Kobe, earlier because I'm new here. I didn't meet you, but Keon.
No, it's all good.
I told my man Mitch, and we're going to do a show about this later on our show. I think some of you might be surprised what happens in that swamp. This is not.
I'm trying to tell you.
This is not. Let me speak. This is not last year's Tennessee team, baby. I watched the Austin Peay game twice. I went over it. I dug in. I got deep.
Closet Vol.
This is not your. I can't even say your grandpa or your dad because it's been so long since they've been relevant. This is not last year's Tennessee. I don't know what they don't have, but I know they don't have Hendon Hooker. They are not explosive. This is about to be a street fight in the swamp against a team who's beaten you every year there since 2003.
That's a lot of years.
You need to think about the meta. You need to think about the meta here.
I mean, think about it this way too, though, right? Last year, Tennessee broke the streak with regards to Alabama losses. Why can't they do the same this year with Florida?
Hooker.
Maybe so.
They don't have Hendon Hooker. They don't have a Jalen Hyatt. They don't have they're dynamic wide receivers.
Hey, they got Brew McCoy though. That's what I hear all the time. Squirrel White's gonna be a dude, apparently.
Squirrel White was dropping passes. Brew McCoy was dropping passes. They were giving up sacks against Austin Peay. Now you gonna march into the swamp and tell me you gonna do something.
Joe Milton throws the ball like he hates his wide receivers.
Every single one, like he just said, every single ball he throws is 150 miles an hour.
It's a fastball from CC Sabathia at the bottom of the ninth.
Johnson.
And it's a fastball from CC Sabathia at the bottom of the ninth in Yankee Stadium in October.
I got winning this game. I gave my prediction earlier in the show, but don't sit there and get your panties in a wad and act all shocked and surprised if Florida pulls it off, because I told you so.
You know what though?
Now I will say this just to kind of bring it back to the very beginning of right before college football season really even kicked off. I told y'all Florida has a heavy possibility of going 4-8. If Florida loses this game, that's going to cement the 4-8.
I'm just going to sit back and laugh because one of these teams got to lose.
Yeah.
I just get to sit back and watch this and laugh.
I just hope nobody wins.
I mean, in a perfect world, but can't have our cake and eat it too, right? Learn that the hard way. So those are your picks for the week, right? The locks, the upsets, the 10 regular picks. Guys, let's get ready for a game day in Athens Saturday, right? But Keon, sending us home there's everyone else for the most part is going to have a game Saturday or actually
Mm-hmm.
what Friday, maybe
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday. A lot of teams going to be playing, but if you're not a Georgia fan, what's that? What's that going around? What's that?
Oh, your team is trash, and you have to deal with that.
Guys, that's all we've got for the night. Make sure to tune in for our Gamecock review Monday night. With that being said, have a great night and go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby. Ow!